And after Bayindir's heroics against Arsenal, and also combining with, well, certain stories coming out that perhaps Ruben Amorim wants to change the goalkeeper and a potential impending overhaul, seems to suggest Andre Onana's position as the #1 goalkeeper isn't as secure. Perhaps also because we've not been able to see the reason why Andre Onana was brought into the club in the first place, which is what he does with his feet, Joe.
Yeah, no, I feel for Andre Onana, and look, rightly so. He will be questioned, and they will be thinking about what's best for the team and what's best for them moving forward. But in terms of what you're talking about there, Michelle, they did bring a goalkeeper in who's very comfortable in playing out. In the Ajax system under Ten Hag, he was excellent. Inter Milan, you know, a league winner, Champions League finalist. But when you bring a goalkeeper into play, he's a system goalkeeper, and he would have been assured by Erik Ten Hag when he signed that when you play with me, you're going to have at least 3 options, and then the worst case stroke best case will be that everyone will have a huge press and you'll be able to drop it into the front man. I'm not seeing a team in front of him who are making all the effort to play and to show for him. The way that they will train week in, week out will be everybody wanting the ball. Defenders dropping deep, the #6 looking to come and take it off him, bounce the ball out, confidence will be high. But I'm seeing on match day, I'm seeing people's backs. I'm not seeing the energy to get next to him, to create the press. So easy for Bournemouth to press here. 4 taking care of probably 5, 6 Manchester United players. And he looks hesitant, and that creates an atmosphere in the stadium. He actually does really well in this scenario, manages to pick out a pass, which he's fully capable of doing. But I just feel for him, because at the moment, I feel like the atmosphere when he gets the ball at his feet is not confident. And that's not necessarily down to him, that's down to the players around him. Like I say, he's a system goalkeeper. So when he receives the ball, he needs options. I think here, United, look, they're not really going anywhere. He's receiving the ball. He needs Harry Maguire sprinting to get that guy out of his path to make the pass easier. He ends up putting it a 20, 30-yard pass along the floor. And in the Premier League, people are cotton onto it and they're so on the front foot. Like I say, he's not been covering himself. You know, he doesn't deserve to be given all sorts of praise and confidence, but I can see why he looks hesitant on the ball.
It's his teammates that failed him, you're saying?
Yeah, I think the whole team, I think the manager, I think everyone's failing him in terms of if you want to be a team that plays out, it needs to be 11 men, 12 including the coach, that want to play the way. And at the moment, I see a guy who wants to play football, puts his foot on the ball, and when he's used to doing that at the other teams where he's been successful, he's had endless options. At Manchester United, he's just seen blind alleyways, and ultimately sometimes just having to lump it long, which is, that's not Manchester United, and that's not what they're set up to do, and that's why the possession constantly gets turned over.
Well, I remember in the studio that Mikel John Obi mentioned that the whole reason Andre was brought forward has not been justified yet, and as Joe mentioned, it's perhaps less about Andre Onana himself, but more about the system and the team that's let him down to some level, threw him under the bus as well by not being available in those particular positions and system that they train for.
Yeah, I can understand what Joe's saying. It's interesting coming from an experienced goalkeeper like himself. You don't sort of see that as an outfield player. I would be saying, if the pass is not on, then it's got to go. You can't try and play a pass and put yourself under pressure when it's not on. I understand that's what he was bought for, because I think David De Gea was probably a better goalkeeper, but obviously not as good with his feet and on the ground. But yeah, I can understand why he would be in a bit of trouble. I mean, the team have not helped each other out. Never mind the goalkeeper. The players have not played well. Tactically, they've been all over the place. They've given more chances away than most teams in the league, I think, over the last 12 months. So the team's not been gelling at all since he's been there. Let's hope under Amorim he does sort that out. But my questions would be about his goalkeeping in general, not just his distribution. I think we can see his distribution with either foot.
Yeah.
He's absolutely incredible for a goalkeeper.
It's just some of the mistakes that he makes, yeah.
It's just sometimes his choice of pass, when it's not on, I can understand that's what he's been told and that's what he's looking for, but if it's not on, you've still got to, for your own peace of mind and for your own safety, you've still got to get rid of it and put it somewhere.
I hear you, mate, and I just think it'll be frustrating, because knowing how these kind of coaches work now in training, trust me, the five-a-side game will be an absolute joy to watch. It'll be him with his foot on the ball. It'll be everyone spinning into position, taking it on the half turn, bouncing it through him, playing out. So he's got it in his mind. Like, that's who he is. That's who he's grown up playing, and that, like, especially in that Ajax system. Yeah. Total soccer, total confidence. And then it comes to Manchester United, few groans in the stadium. I'm sure you'll have felt it when things weren't necessarily going well. And all of a sudden, they're showing for the ball, but they're not showing for the ball. And it just becomes it just becomes really messy and just creates a bad atmosphere. Like I say, I can't protect him. Some of the things that he's done, he's not been, you know, he could have saved things that, you know, arguably a top Premier League, a David De Gea would save. But I just feel for him that he was brought in for a specific reason. Team set up around him to play a specific way, and they're not doing it. So in that position, it's really tough.
Yeah, totally understandable.
But is there not perhaps a goalkeeper that's better than Andre Onana, with the suggestion that Amorim is looking for a new goalkeeper in an overhaul? Because you know the situation with Claudio Bravo.
Yep.
And just that who's a fantastic keeper with himself. We've seen what he's done with Chile. We've seen what he's done with Barcelona.
Yep.
But he just couldn't make it in that Pep Guardiola system. That little upgrade to Edison made all the difference.
I would argue differently. I'd argue that if the roles were reversed, because Claudio Bravo, he came in to replace me. And I remember thinking, you know what, I'm frustrated, but they've brought in someone who's played at Barcelona in a great system, top ball player, like awesome. Chile, I watched him play for the national team, captain. I've never seen a performance like it. He could have played centre-half, centre midfield, as well as being a good goalkeeper. And I thought, you know what, he'll come in. Because Manchester City weren't ready to play under Pep Guardiola yet, because they were coming into the Premier League with these kind of bold ideas of playing out and setting things up, and they weren't ready to do that yet. The players weren't ready, the manager wasn't ready, he was still learning. And Claudio ended up really struggling, in my opinion, and almost kind of getting a bad reputation from he was 33 at the time, was one of the best goalies in the world, especially the forward thinking. So I think my argument would be you could bring someone in who could play, but like I say, being a good goalkeeper that plays out from the back is not someone who's got all the passes and all the clubs in the bag. It's about being able to be part of a system. So it's more pressure on Amorim, in my opinion, for whoever goes in goal. I learnt it towards the end of the game, and towards the end of my career. I'm not a brilliant footballer per se. I'm a good goalkeeper. But if you put me in a good system of players that want to play, I can pass the ball 6 yards. I can pass the ball 6 yards. I can hang on to it if I know and I've got confidence what's around me. But at the moment, there's no confidence around him, and it looks messy. But I would argue that you could put anyone in goal and they'd struggle. So
you don't think there is a point to change Andre Onana?
I don't think you could judge him yet, especially when you make a £50 million investment into a goalkeeper, young goalkeeper. The thing is, the common denominator is he's done well everywhere, but he's not doing well here. So.
Like half the team.
Like half the team.
So they bought players for 50 million, 60, 70, 80 million that have all looked.
Do you know what I mean?
Bang average.
So the common denominator is Manchester United. So until they're playing in a certain way and know what they're doing, I think it's hard to judge anyone.